So it's kind of funny because, I was a classical player growing up and I think a lot of it was because I was encouraged as a woman, as a girl at the time, um, to utilize a pretty sound to, oh, well, your brother plays jazz because he's a boy and he's a lead player because he's a boy and blah, 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 and you're a girl. And I did do really well in the classical world and I enjoyed it. But I always, felt like I was shut out of the jazz world. Um, and I mean, when I went to Interlochen in Michigan for my senior year, I felt like some barriers were broken down because there was such a mix of people there. But it was still weird because I still felt very alone in that world.
Hmm.
Um, but it's funny when I started dabbling in more of a commercial vibe, um, it's more acceptable to be a woman because they don't have a lot of expectations of what a trumpet player looks like. They're excited if you can sing backup and if you can dance, and if you're not opposed to some glitter, which I know plenty of guys that are really cool with that too.
Yeah, but
But
not very many.
yeah, but also just the if you bring your A game as far as what you've been trained to do on the instrument, and then you add that vibe of yeah, I can dance in 6-inch heels, and I'd love to sing some harmonies behind you, and it's a different world. There's not as much masculinity attached to it in the commercial and the pop world and the disco world I've been really immersed in for years now, and in R&B. But you still see it a lot in classical and jazz.
Yeah.
So I love that I landed on this planet because I didn't think that, I never thought, and I listened to a lot of horn bands growing up and stuff, but I never imagined that it would be this open and that I would find a place in it. As an adult, I wasn't very close to a lot of people that had the disease, and most of them were pretty quiet about it. Um, and sometimes it was because they knew my history with it and my mother, and also my mother's sister and my uncle, and it goes on and on. But I think sometimes too, people just don't like to talk about it,
Hmm.
and that's really an old school mentality. Um, and I don't think it's a good idea. However, ironically, I didn't talk about it for about 9 months into my diagnosis. But for me, it was different. I was dying to talk about it, and literally, whoops. But I didn't because I I know the business well enough that I had just started playing for Gloria Gaynor. I think I did one gig for her, and then I was diagnosed. I mean,
Mm.
of course it's ironic with I Will Survive,
Yeah, yeah, right.
but I didn't know them well enough to say, "Hey, by the way, I got cancer." It's cool, right? So, but also, it wasn't just that gig. It's like, I had all these TV shows that I was booked to do. I was, going to play at the White House for the first time. I was like, oh my God, what if people hear that I'm sick, and automatically people will start to write you off,
Right.
especially in the music world for different reasons. It might be because they're not sure. And, people hear, oh, you were diagnosed with cancer. That means you're going to be going through all this stuff and your hair is going to fall out and you're going to be throwing up all the time. I mean, there's all these stereotypes of
Hmm.
having cancer. And, another reason why I kept my mouth shut was other trumpet players. And as much as I love our community is very hungry.
Mm.
And I have heard so many stories from different people on every instrument that when it was discovered that something was, quote, wrong with them, and I'm not gonna do the air quotes, but
Yeah.
you could imagine them because air quotes are so yesterday. But the people will go for the job.
Yeah.
oh, I know who the MD is on that. And, I'm just gonna drop a casual hi, how you doing? And get myself in their radar. So there were a lot of reasons why I didn't talk about it for that long.
Yeah.
And it's sad to me,
Yeah.
because I got through so much stuff. The last day of radiation, I looked like a burn victim. I had no skin left. I was purple. Everything hurt. Um, I had to, ride with somebody in a car for 3 hours, do like an 8-hour recording session, and then ride back. And I'm sweating the whole time, and it's stinging, and everything hurts. And I've got all this gauze in my purse, and this stuff that I have to put on my burns. And I'm like, they must think that I've got some GI problem today because I keep going to the bathroom,
Right.
but I'm cleaning my wounds. And then I've got this like Ziploc thing so that I'm not leaving all of these bloody gauze pieces all over the bathroom, because I don't want to get found out that I have cancer and that
Right.
I finished radiation this morning at 7 o'clock. If I tell someone I'm a musician and they see that I'm an Asian woman, they assume I play the piano or the violin. I must be great at math. There's a whole bunch of things that people will assume just by looking at someone.
Right.
So I would just say, just always do your best. If someone does talk down to you, and feel free to educate them in the friendliest way you can, because as we've learned or have not learned from all of the political craziness going on, there's a lot of yelling. And the second you start yelling at somebody who doesn't agree with you or doesn't understand you or doesn't see your point of view, that person is never going to agree with you.
Right.
The person is not going to listen to you. They're not. You cannot discuss when you're yelling, or when you're saying you're so stupid. How can you not see that I'm a trumpet player? You can't. You just can't say that. So the same goes true with this. And the thing about music is that there are so many musicians, but it's also such a small world that you're going to see people again and again. You're going to see them 20 years later, and and let's hope that you were kind when you first saw them, no matter what they said to you. Now, being kind doesn't mean letting someone grab you and ha ha ha, no.
Right.
You really, to be a female trumpet player, and I think it's sad at this point that we're still doing this, because when I was growing up, I was a unicorn. And there were others, but boy, not a lot, and not a lot that stuck with it. And partially because people say, "Oh, but I don't understand. You're a girl. That's dumb. Aren't you going to be a housewife?" And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people thought I would end up being a housewife.
Yeah.
It's really about letting people know, no, this is actually the situation, and I hope I can kind of change your mind about what you're thinking right now. I don't know about legacy. I just really, I think ever since my diagnosis and all the other fun things that have kind of toppled on me since then, I've just really decided that I want to leave the world a better place than, like every day, just try to do something good for other people, even if I don't know them, even if they're not born yet. So yeah, all of that advocacy work, and trying to help people out, and just trying to be a good person.